Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Setti Coscarella on the line, and he's CEO of TAAT Global Alternatives. Setti, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, Setti. So excited to get into the company and to learn more about TAAT and really how it's revolutionizing the industry with its products. So I'm excited to get into that. And we'll start this show, we start them all, with our Mission Matters Minute that we ask all of our guests. And so, Setti, we at Mission Matters, so we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. So that's our mission here. Setti, what mission matters to you?
Well, the mission that really matters to me is to help rid the world of nicotine. And we've created a product designed for smokers that can still satisfy them in the same way a cigarette can, but that isn't addictive. And as we get through this discussion, I think we'll be able to highlight a number of the key value propositions we offer to this consumer base. And a lot of people might not realize how large it is, but there's almost 1.5 billion smokers in the world today. And the one thing they all have in common is that they're otherwise addicted to nicotine. And we want to be able to help break that addiction and give them the freedom to choose back. And that really is the mission of TAAT at its core.
That's awesome. And I love bringing mission-based executives on the line to share, why they do what they do, what wakes them up in the morning, what really drives them. So thank you for sharing your mission with us and our audience. And so I guess just to get us kicked off, I think maybe we go into your background a little. So, right now you're on the side of working with TAAT and obviously revolutionizing the industry and trying to really free people, right? Like that's what you're doing ultimately. But it wasn't maybe always that case. This was kind of an evolution. So tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got here.
Sure thing. So I started my career in corporate finance. So I worked in investment banking for a few years, then transitioned into private equity for a little while. I spent a lot of time actually on the green energy space, which was actually really interesting. Then I forayed into entrepreneurship. I started my own live events company and sold that. And then over the last few years, I was working at Philip Morris. So I guess on the other side of the coin to what I'm doing now. And in working at Philip Morris, I had the opportunity to interact with thousands of smokers to really understand what it is they like about smoking, what they don't like about smoking. And what I found was very interesting. Be hard-pressed to find a smoker that enjoys the fact they're addicted to nicotine. Yet when you take a look at all of the alternatives and all of the options that are in the market, they're just different manifestations of delivering the same drug, which is otherwise useless. Nicotine doesn't have any efficacy at all. It exists for the sole purpose of creating and feeding an addiction. And it's the one thing that smokers hate. I mean, there's other things they hate, but I mean, this is really one of the things that they absolutely hate. And yet there isn't a company that's going out and actively trying to solve the problem. And I saw that as a big opportunity because the market is immense. As I mentioned previously, you almost got 1.5 billion smokers worldwide. The industry alone is worth about $1 trillion a year. And you've got a captive audience, a big problem. Nobody's really looking to solve it. So I said, well, I guess I'll try. And that's really when I made the jump to TAAT and why I made the jump I thought that the opportunity was really interesting, and I thought that if it was positioned right, it would perform extraordinarily well in the market, because I know that there's a significant appetite for a product like this, and one like this doesn't exist until now.
It's awesome. What an amazing story. And I want to go further into the product itself and really the mission there, because I know TAAT has been compared with rising food giant Beyond Meat and some of the things that they're doing to really displace and to shake a very traditional industry, in my opinion. And I find myself, eating much more alternatives to meat nowadays, and I just like it, honestly. Like, just to be honest, it's just fun, and I like it, and I feel like I'm doing good when I do it, and I feel like that comparison of what you're doing it's a striking comparison, but it's pretty accurate. So maybe give us a little bit more behind the company and the mission just in general.
Well, sure. I mean, the reason I like the Beyond Meat analogy is because we're trying to follow a similar trajectory. If you really think about it, Beyond Meat really is a veggie burger at the end of the day, right? Now, veggie burgers have existed for decades. I don't think the world was looking for a new veggie burger. They're in the frozen food section, and a lot of them taste like sawdust. Not terribly interesting. But Beyond Meat that was so incredibly smart, in my opinion, is that they understood the consumer, and they made their product taste and behave exactly like meat. On top of that, they put it in the meat aisle, not in the frozen food section, because they wanted to intercept potential consumers at the point where they would be making that meat purchasing decision, not when they're looking at frozen food product. And that, again, was very, very smart, and I think that's what helped propel them into a household brand. It differentiated them from any of the other products and made it almost indistinguishable from the one that their target consumer was otherwise buying. We're trying to do a very similar thing on the tobacco side. So we've created a biomass that we call Beyond Tobacco. Now, it uses hemp and some other plant-based material, and we've been able to create it in such a way that it tastes like tobacco, but it isn't. Similar to Beyond Meat, tastes like a hamburger, but it isn't. Also, and I think further what Beyond Meat did is we replaced the highly addictive yet useless drug nicotine with CBD. Now, CBD, when applied to a smoker, has the ability to satisfy a smoker in a similar way that nicotine does. It'll calm you down. But what it doesn't do is create or feed an addiction, which is what nicotine does. That's really why I think our product is so fundamentally better than a cigarette or even a vape, because all of these things are designed to create and feed an addiction. Ours, on the other hand, is created to give you the satisfaction you're otherwise looking for, taste like the thing you're otherwise looking for, perform like the thing you're otherwise looking for, but not be the thing that you don't like. That's why I think it's such a great product.
And let's go a little bit further, because I don't want to assume that our audience understands what it means to add the CBD to it, and it's not the the component that's gonna quote unquote get you high or anything like that.
Absolutely not.
Go a little bit further into that part of it, just so that the audience is educated in what you're doing.
Sure thing. So when you take a look at cannabis or marijuana, and this isn't a marijuana, this is hemp. There's two predominant, there's a lot of different molecules in a cannabis plant, but there's two predominant ones that people would understand. There's CBD and THC. THC is the thing that gets you high. A lot of people thought when cannabis started getting legalized that cannabis was going to somehow compete with tobacco. It doesn't. Cannabis competes with alcohol because THC would inebriate you like alcohol would if you consume too much of it. Okay? CBD, on the other hand, is the part of the plant that helps you relax. It doesn't get you high. It doesn't inebriate you. It doesn't create any psychoactive effect at all. That's the piece that has the calming effect. And when you look at applying it to a specific problem like smoking, the CBD has the ability to satiate you and give a smoker what it is they're otherwise looking for. You see, oftentimes smokers don't really understand what's happening. Nicotine as a drug has a half-life of 45 minutes or so in the blood. So a smoker will have a cigarette and they'll feel satisfied or they'll feel relaxed or whatever feeling they get. Now, after about 45 minutes to an hour, that nicotine starts to dissipate. It puts you in a state of withdrawal, But a smoker doesn't really know they're in a state of withdrawal. They just feel agitated, anxious, angry. They want to go outside and just catch a break. And they have the cigarette. It spikes the nicotine again, and now it takes them out of a state of withdrawal. So a smoker is, in effect, all day in this yo-yo of addiction and withdrawal.
Yeah.
Okay? What TAAT does is it doesn't trigger the addiction response. It'll still give you the calming effect you're otherwise looking for from a cigarette without having to work like a nicotine. So you'll still get the same feeling. In fact, you might feel even more relaxed with a TAAT, but you won't be subject to the physiological dependency of a drug. And that's what I think is really so powerful. But you still get the same taste profile you're otherwise looking for, because I know from a smoker's perspective, taste is very important. And that's why we engineered this product to taste like you're smoking a cigarette and not taste like you're smoking a hemp-based product.
It's awesome. So up to this point, we've covered obviously the need for a change and for something that's not addictive. We've also talked about the way the company has been positioned, and really I think that Beyond Meat analogy is really, really important, and beyond tobacco. I totally get it on that, and it makes total sense. Let's maybe shift gears a bit, and let's talk a little bit more about the company itself. So I understand you're listed on the NASDAQ, or wait a minute, are you listed currently on the NASDAQ? I believe so, yes?
No, we're listed on the OTC. So our primary listing is in Canada on the CSE. We're listed in Frankfurt, and we're listed on the OTCQX. So in the U.S., the ticker is TOBAF. In Canada, the ticker is TAAT. And in Frankfurt, the ticker is 2TP. Now, we have made an application to uplist to the NASDAQ, and we're in that process now.
Awesome. I just want to make sure I have my facts straight there. So thank you for clarifying. Tell me a little bit more about, how the stock has performed and maybe the investor base that you're seeking. Like, give me a little bit more on that side of things, please.
Sure thing. So I came on board in August of last year. At that time, the company had a market capitalization of about $60 million Canadian. The stock was trading at about 70 cents, I believe. Today, we closed at $3.74 Canadian, a market cap of $366 million. So we've shown some tremendous growth over the year, and that's really a function of our commercialization efforts. So we launched the product in market in December of 2020. So we haven't even been in market for a year yet. And we launched in one state in 100 or so stores. Right now, we're in over 20 states in well over 1,000 stores. We also landed international distribution deals into the UK and Ireland and Australia. We've already started fulfilling on some of those orders. And we're working with a number of distributors throughout Europe to start bringing this product to as many consumers as possible as quickly as we humanly can. Because I do think, one, that there's a demand for this product, and I think when smokers try it, they're absolutely going to like it. So we want to be able to get in front of them as quickly as we can.
That's awesome. And so tell me a little bit more about the management team.
Sure. So the company was founded by a gentleman down in Las Vegas. That's where our operations are. His name's Joe Deegan. He's had a number of years of experience on the hemp side and on the vape side, so he understands the flavoring. I really understood how to put together a product like this. My background, as I mentioned, I was with Philip Morris, so I was a lead strategist there. So I worked a lot on the alternative products category. So I spent the majority of my career there understanding what smokers like and don't like about smoking, why they would switch to alternatives, and what really the impetus is to get them to move and stick with new products. And then my chief revenue officer, I worked with him at Philip Morris. He has 25 years experience at Philip Morris. He's launched a number of different cigarette brands, both in Canada and internationally. And again, he really understands the distribution side, how to get the product listed, how to get it, the sales moving. And I think collectively, we really put together a very strong team that understands the market, can make a product, and get it out to the masses very quickly.
All right. So I understand that TAAT is also, did you just win an award, I believe? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, we just started participating in trade shows now, especially that they're starting to open up, and I think that's going to be a very important channel for us going forward. I mean, every show that we participated in, we've been able to add new distributors and new consumers. So I'm very encouraged by the success. But at our first one, we actually won Best New Product, which again, is I think a real testament to what it is that we're doing within this particular category. So, I was very excited to win that award. And I think that as we start to grow, we'll be able to really show that really this is a product that has a place in the category and that can be a real disrupt in the category.
Man, that's a big deal. This is an exciting story, and I love to bring individuals on the line that are just doing something new and different and you don't hear about every day. And this is, I think, TAAT and your trajectory and what you're aiming to accomplish with this company to both, help people, of course, but also to shake up the industry that's been maybe a little bit stagnant and to get the attention and the eyeballs on some of the issues that have been in that industry for a long time and that don't necessarily have to be status quo, that can be changed, right? Like there's things that can be done, and you're proving that. Like you're proving that day in and day out with you, your management team, all the effort of your employees and everybody else. Like takes a lot of people to pull something off like this, right?
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, this is definitely not sort of a war that one person can win on their own. So it really becomes an exercise in putting the right people in the right place and setting the strategy and then executing against it. And I think we've been able to show that we can do that.
That's great. Well, Setti, again, great having you on the show and learning more about TAAT and your plans going forward. So that being said, if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more about TAAT or they want to get in touch, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, if they want to learn more about the company, they can follow us on social at TAAT Global, or they can go to taatglobal.com. If they want to learn more about the product, they can follow us at TryTAAT or trytaat.com. We've also got our e-com open there. And for anybody who is a smoker, if they want to try our product in the U.S., we'll give you your first pack for free. So if you go to trytaat.com, you can register and we'll send you a pack and you can try it for yourself.
Awesome. Well, Setti, again, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and really all the things you're doing over at TAAT. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. And if you did, don't forget, hit the subscribe button. We definitely want you to be a return listener and a return visitor. And Setti, thanks again for coming on the show. It has been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.